All right. So coming back to the journal article, once you've selected the article, remember again, I have to approve your article before you move forward. Huh? So that's why I was expecting to see people sending me articles. That's why I also put that Gate article into the chat because I felt that it was a useful article for people to use on something that was of direct concern to them to do analysis on. How do you all of you all feel about using that article?
So it have some useful information.
Well, it's practical from the sense that it affects you directly, but in terms of being able to do the journal question um, assignments, you all think uh, you all feel free, no, there's no problem with people using the same article to write up their assessment. It's not a problem. You follow what I'm saying, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Anybody else has any questions they want to ask about this? No? Okay. How about the group project? For those people who have selected their countries and that kind of stuff, um, have you run into any problems answering the questions?
Yes, sir.
What problems do you have?
For number 5, the we do in China, right? So because China have so many dominant industries, it's kind of hard to find one specific market structure for it.
Well, actually, China has a very peculiar type of market structure where they have government-led investment. Is that something you're coming across?
No,
So that
nothing
a
that
lot
I
of the
listed.
right, so that a lot of the firms in China are actually wholly or partially owned by government.
Yes, sir.
All right. So one of the things that you have there is almost like state-run monopolies or state finance competition. That making sense? So their market structure is a little. Remember again, you have to go back. Their basic economic system is planned economic system. Yes, and the
It's
impact on that has on demand and supply is that they have been able to combine both planned a lot of planned economics with market systems. So they have a mixed economy, but they have a heavy dependence on the planned aspect. Therefore, the impact that it has on demand and supply is that it has, in some areas of the economy, it has opened up the economy and allowed a great deal of competition, whereas in some other areas of the economy, they don't allow that. So, for example, when it comes to the internet, there's only government approved services that are provided there. You know that, right? You can't get WhatsApp and Facebook and stuff in China. They have their own programs that they utilize that are locked away from the rest of the world. You're familiar with that, right?
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Right. So that means that stunts demand and supply in the sense that you are limited only to those approved goods and services that the government allows. So that then leads to a dominant type of firm that exists. Well, they've actually opened up a bit. So the a very important dominant firm structure that you should be talking about with the Chinese economy is the government-led company. So the government kind of owns a lot of the key shares. So they're using um, um, companies, private companies or public companies, but the government owns the majority shareholding in it. That makes sense? And the way to look at that is to divide the economy up into its major sectors. So you can't look at the entire economy altogether. You have to look at it by looking at its main sectors. So what did you all find out were the main areas or main goods and services that they're producing in those countries and in China?
Well, they manufacture, they produce energy, agriculture, and
They have
mining. They
mined
do
in.
mining. Yeah.
Mining, right? So you could take those 3 or 4 areas you just identified and focus your attention on those only. You don't have to dissect the entire economy because that'll be impractical in the context of an assignment like this. So that you could work out that in this type of market, so in the agricultural sector, it might be all government-led activities. But in the manufacturing sector, they use a different system where they invite a lot of private external companies to come in and set up business and encourage them to provide jobs. They also regulate wages to make sure that wage levels stay competitive and so that they can keep their people there. You remember, those are some of the things that you came across in your research.
Yes. Yes.
All right. There's a reason why. So the government maintains a lot of control on the way the economy works, and that therefore affects demand and supply decisions. So, for example, they may make iPhones in China, but they don't sell them in China. You follow what I'm talking about? The dominant firm in China when it comes to phone and the smartphone is the Huawei. You know that, right? And that's a huge market that foreign firms want to get into, but they can't necessarily get into because government blocks them from coming in. The same thing like WhatsApp and Facebook and all those social media companies, they would love to get into that market because it would mean that there would be a greater number of people. There'll be a greater number of people in the market, therefore greater possibility of growth and profits. Yes, that makes sense.
Yes, so basically China have its own little um community, I guess, in anything. It's
Not
like
right. It's a closed. It's a what I would say. It's a highly managed mixed economy with a great extent of um, of public sector control, government control, but in the but it does allow for demand and supply decisions to be made to set prices. But in the main, a lot of them, the local market is controlled by the government to the extent that the country is what what's the word I want to use? It's basically it's a very highly managed economy. Although they have a private sector, which is huge, which is big, the government still plays a very dominant role in regulating what takes place in that economy. So it might be a mixed economy, but it has heavy government regulation and input. All right. So when it comes to the dominant market structure, you might find, for example, that the government-led companies are large. They're extremely large. How many water manufacturing companies exist that you'll find in that area?
I didn't find anything about that.
Or how about power manufacturing or power generation? When you're looking at a country and its level of development, those are the first two things you need to look at. Who owns and controls water and power? Because those are critical for determining the the um, the level of development in an economy. Water and power, those are essential services, and most times, if not, if what I'm thinking of is that government maintains strict controls over it, and of course, um, they they encourage profitability for the firm, but output and prices may be regulated, especially inside the country. Whereas um, they may have they actually have some forms of inflation that's going on as well in their country as well. I don't know if you all came across any of that. And of course, The
Yes.
last question there on the COVID pandemic issue. Remember, they were like the epicenter of that pandemic. So quite an interesting piece that I should see there. That question. Anybody else seeing issues with the thing, or you have further questions you want to ask?
No, sir, I got enough information. Thank you.
All right. Is it clear enough for you? Do you think you understand what I'm trying to say? Because I could be.
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
All right, so I could be kind of clear as mud. So, like for instance, another group wants to look at Japan, from what I remember. So when you look at the Japanese economy is one that is highly capitalistic. Um, they have a very um, they have a mixed economy, but they're on the spectrum. They tend towards less control rather than more control, and therefore, what has happened their economy is that most of their most of the economic decisions are made simply through market demand and supply. Um, so that because they have such a free economy, demand and supply decisions are made by market forces between households and firms. So therefore, Japan tends to have a very high cost of living, um, because market systems have sent prices up in their economy, especially when you start to look at their major areas of activity. Japan's big area is cars and vehicle manufacturing. That's one of their key exports. You have to also remember in the introduction to Japan, you recognize that Japan has a serious problem when it comes to resources. They don't have much of their own resources, which was one of the reasons why they engaged in World War II. It was actually to try and get control of the Chinese mainland area, Taiwan, and all those areas because they wanted access to better lands so that they can get better resources. So those are some of the things that drove them into engaging in that war. In particular, one of the things they require was oil for energy. Um, so there's that issue that came up there. Their dominant type of firms would tend to be public companies, rather than sole traders, especially when it comes to those large areas of activities like cars, manufacturing, electronics. Those are their big areas. Look at the big exports that they tend to thing, and you realize that most of the large car manufacturing companies come out of Japan and Southeast Asian markets. Um, how I haven't been following them very much in terms of how they're handling the COVID-19 situation. So that might be something that you'd be looking at there as well. For those of you who are thinking of Japan, what about Turkey? The group that's doing Turkey, how are you all managing with this? Come, guys, this is time to ask questions based upon your group work. Catherine, aren't you all doing Turkey?
Yes, sir.
I make you out. All right. So seeing as I
I
make
was
you out,
hoping somebody else would have talked for once, sir.
well, let's make out the other folks. So the other folks with your group would be Batiste, who I spoke to you about already, but Arjun is not here, not seeing her. Alana Barrett is here, and Cassie is here. So what's going on with Turkey, guys? How are you finding your search for data?
Well, so as I said, we were more or less finished. It's just Rihanna's part we were waiting on.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we're gonna split Rihanna's between Alana, I think, and I. So
All right, but let me find out from you all what kind of information did you all get to, to deal with the question on dominant firm structures? Who did that question?
That would be Alana.
I, sir.
Right. So tell me, what was the dominant type of firms that you found existing in that country?
Um, ob, I think it was obligo the obli. So right
Oh,
now I'm juggling two classes, right? So I don't have the notes. I don't have the notes that are right on me right now. But I think was
oligopolies.
is that one boy? Yeah.
A few firms controlling the market.
It's one that uh,
A few large firms operating in the market.
yeah.
Right. But that's the market structure. But what were the dominant structures that the firms took? Were they companies? Were they sole traders? Were they partnerships? What were they? Or were they government-run monopolies or something along those lines? What did you find it to be?
So I got
All
to
right.
write thing because I
Okay. So thanks for you all to review. In the
I'll have to
overview,
review it.
yeah, in the overview of Turkey, one of the situations that should have come up with your in your discussion about Turkey was the current crisis in Syria impacting upon its capacity to deal with goods and services. That came up at all?
No, so it was real hard finding information, and also
I know, and that's one of the reasons why I would not have necessarily approved Turkey if you guys had come to me because of that issue. But you all have already gone through the stuff, so cannot work with it. One of the problems with the Turkey economy is because of its proximity to um, Syria and other war-torn areas of the Middle East. They have a problem with refugees coming through, and refugees put a strain on the economy. So that might be part of what you have to discuss in your introduction, because of its share, just where it is, it creates a problem. It's not that the economy is failing, but they are struggling to deal with the pressure that refugees put on the economy, which is one of the reasons why a lot of people they try to cross the border into Turkey to get away from Syria. That's one thing, and then from Turkey they try to cross the border to get to Europe. That's by crossing over one of the seas there that borders this country. You're familiar with that, right? Came across that refugee.
yes, sir. I didn't
Yeah,
on the news and thing, but I didn't
make the
when searching
connection.
for information, it wasn't those that wasn't coming up.
Okay. It's not something that Turkey is very happy with, so you may not see it. And so in the UN reports and stuff like that, you might find that they may refer to or discuss the refugee issues that have impact upon the countries currently. But generally, they have a fairly so again, another issue with Turkey is that Turkey is primarily what in terms of its state. What religion dominates that country? You all don't know?
Muslims.
Okay, so who did the introduction to the introductory question to Turkey?
I'm still doing it.
You're still doing it? What do they have on their flag?
Uh,
Not the crescent moon and star?
yeah,
What is that a symbol of?
I didn't look into that part, so.
So Muslim.
I did.
Muslim.
Islam.
Islam, yeah.
Islam.
Yeah.
So
That's what I was doing with the question. Okay.
yeah, because
I was overthinking the question. Sorry.
right, okay. So I was, yeah, obviously overthinking it, yeah. But remember, they have a very rich history of Islamic concerns, and therefore their country is based upon a type of they've come a long way from Sharia law that that exists more so in places like Iran and those places, but they become a little more liberal then. Let's put it that way. Uh, but there are some pieces of the background that you have to look out for because historically they will have some sort of limitations put on their citizens in terms of what they can do. So, for example, you're not going to have a big pork industry there when it comes to agriculture and stuff like that. So, those are things that you want to pay attention to, okay? Because those things impact upon how an economy runs. Welcome, Miss Murray.
Hi, sir.
I know,
No, me too.
I know. Take your
Yeah.
time. All right.
Hi.
We're discussing issues concerning the group project. All right. Okay, so guys, please pay attention to when you're dealing with the other questions. Don't look at the whole country itself. You have to break the country down into its major segments of economic activity so that you get a good idea of what's going on. So you have the agricultural sectors, you have the manufacturing sector. If they have an oil-based sector or energy-based sector, that's something to look at. Look at their electricity companies, look at their water and water distribution companies. Those kind of key things you want to pay attention to when you're trying to work out dominant types of firms and dominant market structure, which is one of the things that Alana talked about in terms, I think it's Alana Besser, talked about finding that there was an oligopoly situation that was existing in the Turkey environment. So that's actually quite true. That is something that might more than likely happen there. All right. And again, I don't know much about what's happening with their particular COVID-19 situation. So that's something that will be relatively new. I'd like to see what you'll present in that area. Now, the other group is Jamaica. How y'all going with Jamaica? Well, Catherine, by the way, Catherine Gibson said she's running late. She's still on her way home. But Hamilton, Marie is here now, Cooper is here, and Granger is here. So talk to me about what's going on with that group.
Well, we haven't quite started anything yet.
What?
So because we're trying to get the assignment out of the way, but I have been doing research on Jamaica.
All right.
I'm making little notes, but we still working on all the other questions and everything.
Okay, so this discussion might be useful for you guys to be paying attention to guide you through how you're going to tackle the questions. But guys, it's November 25th. We don't have a lot more time for classes to wrap up. If you go back into our schedule, the class, the deadline for submission of certain things is what I want to point out to you guys is your presentation um, is, well, so let me find out. The presentation is the 9th of December. All right. How are we looking for that? Because if we look at the calendar, the 9th of December is about 2 weeks away. All right. So, okay. And then we still have two groups that haven't yet finalized their country. So, cocktail book, or pressure on, because you all are waiting a little too long to get it. And I have to say, was a little laxed in trying to get you all to pay attention to that.
I thought the presentation was supposed to be the 16th, and to submit the group paper was supposed to be the 26th.
Yep, that's down here.
So, but now you're telling us it's
No,
the
no,
9th.
no, no. The presentation is the 9th. Look at it here. It's on this thing here.
Oh,
The presentation is the 9th of, the reason why I can't have it on the 16th is because that's the week of exams. Now, if everybody's clear and the 16th nobody has an exam, you all got your exam schedules?
yes, sir.
Anybody has an exam on the 16th of December?
I didn't get mine yet, so I don't really know that because business law. That was not like the schedule, so I don't want to say.
So
Uh,
you don't, who's your law lecturer?
um,
Okay, that doesn't work.
yeah, I had to go and look for it.
But an exam schedule was sent out. Somebody lecturer can't put out his own private exam schedule, huh?
I know, but on some on like when they was typing it out like the message, they say that all wouldn't be there, so business law wasn't there.
Well, law mightn't be there because he may be doing some kind of in-class assignment, not necessarily an exam. In some instances, it's more like a take-home something that you're doing. Is that the case, or you're not sure yet?
Yeah, I really not sure yet.
We need to find out because if you guys want to present your group findings on the 16th, we have to make sure that nobody is going to be negatively affected by having exams on that week, on that particular day. To be truthful, I mean, you might have exams, but anybody else has exams on that last week? Other people in the class?
I have accounts, but I can't remember what date. I have to double check.
All
It is
right.
correct.
Okay, so you all need to get back to me, but work towards the 9th of December as the presentation day. And then, of course, you don't have to, well, seeing as you're going to have to work this reverse, you might have to do your presentation first and then finalize your write-ups after the fact, because you have until the 27th of December to submit the actual project itself. All right. But by the 9th of December, I should see, well, let me put it this way. By the 9th of December, we should see, or the 16th, depending upon how we get feedback from the class. So I need to check in with you all next week to see where you all are at with that. So we'll call a short session for that. All right. All right. That being said, let's go to the classroom itself. You'd recognize that there's an extra exam. You all realize that, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So basically, I'm going to use that like a bonus exam. So you have two quizzes coming out of Unit 7, Quiz 1 and Quiz 2. I've put all of them to close on the 15th of December. So guys, try and see if you can. This one's coming up pretty quick. Where are people with their quizzes and that kind of stuff?
So I just had the last two to do.
Right. How about the content? How are you going through with the content? The last two areas are a little tricky. Theory for part 1 and part 2. How are we going with that?
So everything going good so far?
So far? Anybody is having any issues or problems? Let me see how many people might have tried this. 7 attempts so far. All right.
Sir,
Yeah.
I could ask excuse up to the class. I have a next class at entrepreneurship, and
Okay.
I could listen. And he not recording. If I could go to his class, please, and I will listen to your the rest of the recording
Not a problem.
when you put
Okay.
in the classroom, please. Thanks.
Not a problem. Okay. Okay. So anybody has any other issue that they want to bring up? So is there any of the content from Unit 7 that you all want me to go through with you all? I mean, I did pack a lot of stuff into these last two units, but it's more or less self-explanatory all the way through. Speak, guys, speak. Speak now, forever hold your pieces.
So I find the PowerPoint that you send along with it, it is a very clear explanation. So I don't really have anything to ask at the moment.
All right, so feedback like that is good because then I know my PowerPoints are helping people rather than being a hindrance. They may be a bit long, but they're long because I'm trying to make it have continuity and linkages, not just information just slapping from one slide to the other, but continuation and explanation. I'm hoping other people have found them to be useful as well. Is that the case? Would there be a...
They were quite useful.
Yes, sir.
What about the video links that are there? They adding value or they just a nuisance?
Oh, the videos helped a lot more.
All right, good. Because they will be shorter segments, especially from Mr. Clifford, to add further clarification to the some of the concepts that I tried to cover in the PowerPoint. So that sounds good. All right. Anybody else has anything in particular that they want to address?
Hi, excuse.
Yes,
This
Miss
was
Rima.
really have much to do with the slides or anything. My group picked the USA. Is that okay?
Yes, the United States of America.
Yes.
That's fine. That's fine. Actually, it's one of the first times I've heard people do it. But they have a very complicated economy, and they're still actually ranked as the world's largest economy. So um, it's going to be interesting to look at that. It's a bit weirdly, but let's see how you guys manage with it. Um, they may have more examples of all the different types of market structures that you're talking about, from oligopolies to monopolies to a lot of monopolistic competition, and even in some instances, perfect competition when they talk about greens and that type of stuff. So um, have a look and see. Your whole group's with you over that.
I'm assuming yes. I discussed it in the group and nobody said no. So
That's fine. If they all said yeah, they're going to do it, then fine. And that's something for you guys to do. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Anybody has anything else they need to discuss with me at this point in time that they're willing to talk about in front of everybody? If not, I can turn off the recording, and that way we can kind of wrap things up for this evening.
So when you're going to give us feedback on our assignment one?
That's kind of getting a bit close. Some people still haven't submitted yet, so there's some problems with that. I'll have to send you a message in relation to everybody's individual assignment. I've spoken to one or two people already. I just probably haven't gotten to H yet. So Ms. Hamilton, hold on a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. All right, so I'm going to pause the recording now.